first apologize for starting a little bit late. We were supposed to start at exactly 11 o'clock. Now the time it says 11:22. My name is Jerry Matebesi. I'm the spokesperson for the Department of Economic Development, Environment, Conservation and Tourism. We have called you here from various media houses to come and share information with you with regard to the latest activities that have been happening in the department and its entities. And with me here is the MEC for the department, Honorable Bitsa Lenkopane. We also have the acting head of department, Mr. Relebohile Mofokane. We also have the CEO of the NWDC, Mr. Shelut Nale, Mr. Mojalefa Nale, sorry about that. We also have the acting CEO of the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board, Mr. Jonathan Denga. We also have the acting CEO for GLR, Mr. Naidu. We have the apology of the CEO from the Gambling Board, Mr. Kalinge, but he is represented by Mrs. Lerato Mokhorosi as well as Mrs. Lerato Mokhoji. So, colleagues from the media, having said that, I will not waste any time and I will invite the MEC to come and read the statement of the department. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ntate Matebesi, the CEO, or should I put it like this? Thank you, Ntate Matebesi, the acting head of department, CEOs from different entities of the department, members of the media present here, members of the boards. Let me take this opportunity to once more put it before I could give a brief that it is not business as always that when the Premier is supposed to deliver his State of the Provincial Address, we have a media briefing, because the Premier has not yet opened his government, because we are representing him in the departments, and therefore I am only going to deal with issues that are in the media space, especially issues that would not want them to be a risk when the Premier's State of the Provincial Address is being laid to the public. This department, like any other department of the Northwest government, is a department that is of its own kind, because it is a department that is acting as a shareholder in terms of the entities that government is having. It is a shareholder to the entities, the entity of NWDC. It is a 3D entity in terms of the PFMA, meaning it has to enable the state most of the time to make business, to do collaborations, mobilize investments, and most of the time when we are to collaborate with private sector, it is the entity that we use. It is led by Ntate Mojalefa Nale. We also have the entity which is also a 3C. The entity of Northwest Parks and Tourism is 3C. It means it is also an enabler for government, because government is expecting the Department of Economic Development through this entity to generate and to beef up the revenue of government, as well as to self-fund in terms of the operationals. It is the entity that focuses more on conservation, tourism, as well as training. We also have the subsidiary of Parks and Tourism, which is the Golden Leopard Resorts. It's a subsidiary because it is an entity that is under the motherhood of the Parks and Tourism. It is registered in terms of the Companies Act. It means when Parks and Tourism is to make business, when government is to make business, Parks and Tourism uses this entity. We also have an entity of a gambling board. It is also a 3C, and it is also one of the contributory institutions that also deals with boosting of revenue in government. So these are the entities of government, and I must be confident that for the past 30 years, government has been doing not only the government of Northwest, but because these are state-owned entity, the countrywide state entities is historic that they have always encountered challenges. We have already debated in the NCOP the challenges that are faced by SOEs. The National Treasury has come up with the regulations on how to deal with that in terms of starting to re-look into the funding framework and other ways of strengthening and turning around these entities. I'm just going to run through what could be in the media space, but deliberately I decided to sit with the management of other entities so that to the public, it should be known that government of the Northwest has got SOEs in this department. And it is this department that becomes a shareholder in terms of oversight. I must also announce that the department will be appointing the director, shareholder, and entity oversight on the 1st of April to deal specifically with the turning around strategy that we have come up for purpose of resuscitating our SOEs. Members of the media, it is important that you need to note that this department is amongst others responsible for promoting economic growth and development, developing the tourism sector, manage conservation and environmental matters, support small, medium and micro enterprises, regulate business within the department. And it has got also other programs that are overseen by the department itself, 7 of them that are hosted in the department, and most of them are the feeder programs to these entities. In the 7th administration under my leadership, the department has confronted historic operational inefficiencies and is focused on rooting out in the spirit of prioritizing the 6 priorities of GNU, building a capable state. And in the period of this transformation, the department has faced challenges, including the labor unrest, which might have led to actions taken by those involved, the property damage and unlawful protests and lawful protests. I'm just going to indicate in this context of the strategies that we came up with, including the turnaround strategies for both the department and the entities that will be unpacked by the Premier in his SOPA pronouncement on what his government is going to do. But we are confident that in the one-on-one engagement with the Premier, the homework that we were given to do, he is happy that he will pronounce a way forward that is positive, that is going to be fruits to the people of the Northwest. In the space of the media, it is in public that we have recently encountered a situation where the staff could not get their salaries as expected on the date expected. I must unreservedly apologize to the members of the staff of Parks and Tourism, for they are families. We have, as government, inconvenienced them. And of course, it was not our plan. there are always other issues that will actually come into the space where plans are. We have dealt with that, and we assured them that it will never happen again. And once more, apologize to their families who could not get food on the day they expected, who could not do a lot of things, because when you work, you plan. And that is why I have no reason not to apologize, irrespective of whatever that could have been lying there, but I have to apologize on behalf of government. And I'm taking this that when the Premier delivers his speech, I have also briefed him. I have given him the plans on how we are going to deal with these matters, how we are going to get deeper into what could be the cause, and because we have long convinced him that all is well, and we still stay on that lane of saying all is well. In the Parks and Tourism Board, the issues that are also in the media space is the issues around the recent developments in the portfolio committees, including the SCOPA, especially where the Parks and Tourism Board was flagged out in the public domain. It must be noted that this government of the Northwest, like any other government, we respect all the spheres, including the legislature, which is expected to play oversight over us. We have also seen in the recent media space that members of the staff were out in the legislature. It is not a problem. It is not something that we should condemn, because the legislature has got the right to do that in terms of the Constitution. So we don't even have in any way to can condemn or blame the staff, because all of us, including the MEC, including the Premier, including whosoever who has been given the responsibility to take care of the public funds, has to account. And it should be noted in that spirit to the media that we also fall within those that are bound to account. Members of the media, it is also important that I must put before you the issues that played out at GLR, Golden Leopard Resort. It is not a secret that we are also, as government, apologizing to the families of those who are employees, some even passed away at GLR. And I could tell that for the past 5-7 years, all has not been well, this subsidy. We have plans in place that the Premier will outline in his pronouncement. We have briefed him, but we can also indicate that we have long apologized. The MEC has reached out. It was bad in GLR. We had issues where people could not even have provident funds being paid for them for the past 4 or 5 years. Some died without pensions. Some left the system without pensions. But today I can confidently indicate that we have worked out a plan. We have already addressed some of those issues. We have paid. There were those who were even put on for maintenance of their kids. Monies were deducted from their salaries, but they were not paid to the relevant people. That's why I can indicate that as part of building a capable state, about 2 dismissals were effected in GLR, including 3 suspensions. Cases are still on, and there are cases that has been handed to the NPA for further investigations. The same thing happened in the Parks and Tourism. This department deals with issues of wildlife where there are standard operation procedures. We have effected about 2 suspensions. Those are carried from the previous years, which are related to animal poaching. Suspensions has been effected and arrests have been made. Those people are facing the might of the law. In the department also, on the same space of wildlife management, we have cases that were opened, arrests were made. All these things were the side of the staff members. In NWDC, about 4 suspensions were made, which resulted in 2 resignations. One case is about to be concluded of the 4 that has been affected there. On the side of department, we also had, on the side of the department, we also have a number of cross transfers that were made. That also is as a result of some investigations that are related to what we intend to bring a capable state and to deal with systems that are not compromised. That is basically how the issues around consequence management is concerned, but the MEC, after having engaged with the gambling board, I forgot, the gambling board also, there are cases, there's 1 dismissal that has been effected, there's also 2 suspensions that goes with arrests. Arrest has been made and 2 suspensions in the gambling board. So across the board in these entities, there's also the former CFO. I think we issued a statement which is related to the NWDC. On the other side, but it's still relating to the operations of this department. So I am raising these things so that it should be clear that we are hard at work. The scope of work is broad. We are briefing the media at this moment when we are also experiencing floods in one of the best resorts that we are investing in around Madikwe. There are serious floods that we have encountered this weekend. The MEC will be going out there, but the report that we got from the acting CEOs is that all is well and we'll be able to deal with the matter. Systems are in place. We'll be able to replace whatever damages, but we have not covered anything that relates to the public, except that is what belongs to us. So we are confident that we'll be able to deal with that, and we must not panic, so that when the members of the media see it on the media space, they must not know that we are there. And lastly, the MEC is also going to look into the issue of the staff salaries, not only on paying them. We got the information that the staff negotiations of gambling board have been completed. They at the level of CCMA to finalize the agreements. The negotiations at NWDC are also to start. They are to sit around the table. We are guided by how they are going to conclude, and the CEO has committed to give a brief on that. We also got a brief that the negotiations around parks and tourism were initiated, and we are awaiting the outcomes from the CCMA. It is within the hands of those that are negotiating, and the board will then brief the MEC. But as a leader of society that drives this department, we are confident that we understand and we respect the conditions of service for employees. We might have those that negotiate, irrespective of the economic status that we find ourselves in terms of the boards, but that is not going to make us to put our people first. We will negotiate in terms of affordability, but we will always reasonably agree in terms of how we see the economy and the basics that our people also need to put on the table for their families. The MEC will reach out to different points of operation for the staff of parks and tourism to meet them in person and to listen to them and their conditions. Of course, I have started this on the side of one cluster. I'll be finalizing, I'll be reaching out. I might not be able to state the dates, but we have planned this morning with the acting CEO that he is going to work out a plan for the MEC to reach out, including with the boards. We'll be appointing, as per the brief that I got from the chairperson of the Board of Parks and Tourism, we'll be appointing a new CFO. The whole process has been completed. She briefed me this morning that she'll be signing the appointment of the Chief Executive Officer. The staff who came from the side of tourism, they had issues around reconfiguration. We'll be engaging them. We'll be engaging also those who were from the parks, because we have to finalize reconfiguration. I think that's amongst the rest, basically, the issues that have been out in the media. And Tatema Tebesi also requested me to give you a brief on Mahika Mahikeng, because I think it is also out there. Remember, government started, it did not start now. It has always been there. We found for Mahika Mahikeng a collaboration between parks. It's a signed memorandum of understanding. It is signed between the CEO of Parks and Tourism, who is now on suspension, between her and Department of Arts and Culture. The contents of the memorandum will be distributed to members of the media for purpose of transparency, because we are government which we think everything was compliant, and it was never found to be an audit query. It's not a contract that started now. So we also have now, as a government of the 7th administration, have participated in Mahika Mahikeng based on the existing memorandum of understanding, and we were briefed by the then CEO, Ntate Mabunda, who wrote a letter to us together with the marketing officer on how important we should participate. Of course, it is important. Mahika Mahikeng is the flagship of the Northwest. We have a research story that we have made this year, Mahika Mahikeng, and we are proud that it is a flagship activity of the province that needs to be continued. It is not hosted by DDECT, it is hosted by Arts and Culture, but we support it as government of the 7th administration. We inherited from other governments, and we still strongly feel that it has to be carried, because the government of the Northwest see it as an opportunity for our business, and we can prove. The MEC at a later stage, when we go on budget speeches, will elaborate on how it has impacted the one that has happened during the 7th administration. I am not sure whether I left something that could have also been clarity. That Emma Tebesi is saying to me, I have covered all, unless if they come in the form of questions. Thank you. I am checking the CEOs if I have left something from the side of their operations. No, in our language, when they say this, it means all is well, and the MEC has covered all. Thank you, and thank you once more.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, MEC. We are going to give you the opportunity to pose questions not only to the MEC, but we are going to take 5 questions.
Thank you very much for your time, MEC. My name is Tabang Murutla from SABC News. Good day to you as well, colleagues. Let me appreciate you, MEC, for calling this briefing to clarify some things, like you've just alluded now that there are some things that are in the media space. So if I can go back to the issue of salaries in January, when we were watching the portfolio committee meeting, where former employees or former CEOs appeared before the briefing, they stated that they started the financial year on getting advances for them to operate. So the issue came again in November when the board decided that they wanted to participate in the Mahigeng activities. But we had Mr. Mabunda on record stating that he said no on record because there was no money for that. But I can hear now MEC saying that Mr. Mabunda was the one who motivated in a way for the entity to participate in Mahigeng. And then, if you remember well, MEC, you also had an interview at Motsweding FM where you stated that there's no way that the entity would have financial challenges because they were just given 45 million rand. So this whole thing that the entity was facing challenges and there was no money for salaries, it was just a myth. But when we were listening to the briefing that was done by Mr. Mabunda and Ms. Jacobs at the portfolio committee, they even said on record that they have supporting documents to show that they were given an advance on that they should give 7 million to the service provider, stating that, alleging, or rather let me put it that way, they were even put under pressure to pay that service provider. They said that on record, that they were put under pressure, even stating that the chairperson of the board at some stage even said that the MEC said that she was driving to Joburg. When she gets there, the service provider must be paid. So at some point, the service provider was even calling them, saying that DDECT has given you money, we need you guys to pay. And then the question would be, how can Mahigeng be prioritized while the entity was already struggling financially, even as coming as to paying even the salaries of the employees? And then when we listened to Ms. Jacobs' presentation, she alleges that the reason why she resigned was because the MEC was interfering. She even had meetings with the employees without her knowledge at Protea Hotel with the HOD. So she was saying that the reason why she resigned is because how can you be an accounting officer, yet things are happening, but you're not informed about them, things that you at the later stage would have to be accounted for. And then the question would be, MEC, how the entity has had so many people acting on this position of CEO in the last 6 months, if I recall correctly. How is it going to be stable when HODs keep changing, when they claim that there's interference in the administration, when they claim that the department was aware of their challenges because they kept on asking for advances from the money that they get from the department. So they had a plan, but now they had to compromise because they had to prioritize this 7 million that was for Mahigeng, that the department, through the acting head of the department, said it would give them. But they did get that 45 million, but 10 million went to GLA, I think, and then 7 million went to Mahigeng, and they had other operations, they had debts also that they had to pay. So that's how it ended, that people could not get their salaries. Now the question would be, if MEC, you were aware of that situation, how then would you go to a radio station and say that, no, I don't understand this thing that people were not paid, while we just gave these people 45 million, while you knew what that 45 million was channeled for, or what was going to pay? So the question again would be, in that interview, you said that people were siphoning money to their companies, that you were going to take actions. regarding those people who have been mismanaging money within the entity. So is there any action that you have taken? Because you were saying that since while you have the names of these people, you were gonna act to ensure that the money of the government is accounted for. Thank you.
Okay, the second one. The second one. I thought let's make 5 and you come. Okay. Okay, let's change the approach. The MEC will respond to each and every question that has been posed. MEC?
No, thanks. Like I indicated that in Matebesi will put the script on how I have been doing the brief. So I will just share with you the documents, this document that I'm holding. Remember, I'm not involved in administration, especially when it comes to finances and all these things. But I'm having in possession here the memorandum of understanding that was signed between Arts and Culture and Parks Board. In that memorandum of understanding, they outlined that they're gonna go for 5 million, and they state everything of the conditions. So we are having the memorandum of that MOU that is going to lapse in 2027. So that is the one that they have already signed. It is binding. It is to happen until such time that now it comes to an end in 2027. But it is also important that HOD, I hope you will share with the media the submissions that were coming from Parks and Tourism. Remember, they committed through the MOU. It is a 3C entity. The state is not supposed to be giving monies when the entity has got revenue generation, where we have conservation, where we have hotels, where they are supposed actually to draw money, do money on their own. We have concessionaires from the side of the Pilanesberg throughout, and about 14 reserves that we own, where we can have an opportunity to generate revenue. So I'm going to share with you the MOU that we inherited from the 6th administration, and I'm not going to run away. I also support it because it is for government, and the contents of that MOU are very clear that they addresses the needs of the people of the province. And there is also a submission that comes from the Ntate Mabunda when he motivated. I will show you here the document. This document that I'm holding is an order. It is also having the amount that was transferred. The amount is 18 million. There's also a directive from the CFO of the department. She outlines that this correspondence provides the entity with the adjustment allocation for estimate of the provincial revenue. Your entity adjustment, the main and additional budget is 18 million. The CFO further wrote, and remember this document, I'm doing this because I want the public to understand that it is not something that we are hiding. These documents were actually having 18 million, which was authorized by L. Diale and Molokele and signed by the CFO. And the 18 million invoice that comes from the Parks and Tourism Board. And at the back is a letter that is written by Fahmida Hendricks, who is the acting CFO of Parks and Tourism. Then it is clear here, because when the department gives them money, they do a request and they state what they want the money for. We don't just give them money voluntarily. So these documents here proves that they requested, and they did not request any other thing, but what they have requested, they were given. And the 18 million that was given, CFO indicated here that they must take the other amount to GLR and the other amount for Mahika Mahike. I think there is also a further submission that was coming from the Chief Marketing Officer. there's a submission that I picked up in the documents when she indicated that Mahike must be supported, and she outlines the activities and how important is it. The last paragraph of that document, she indicated that we must try to reduce the support. Remember, in the MOU, the support is 5 million. And particularly for Parks and Tourism, I was briefed by both the CFO and the head of department that 4 million was from Parks and Tourism. They requested that. The 3 million was for the department. The department also wrote to participate because we wanted the SMMEs to be there. So that was done upon their request, and it is documented, and it was authorized by the program manager of environment, Mele Budiale. It was approved by the CFO, and it was transferred to the NTT. We also apologize to the staff of GLR because GLR had to struggle. For the past 10 years, it never had a budget that was appropriated in the legislature. But we managed to do the revised APP where they were adjusted for purpose of dealing with their remaining monies that must go to the families, which the MEC has given that task to the acting CEO, the head of department, and the CEO of GLR, that they must pay directly. These monies must no longer go to these accounts. Because after paying this 18 million, we expected them to give GLR 11 million because it was the money that was appropriated for GLR. In terms of the PFMA, you can't use the monies that you were budgeted for a particular item. It's a direct financial mismanagement. So, but that one is an internal matter that they will have to deal with. So this document, I think, Ramatebesi will have to make copies so that it becomes transparent to members of the public as to what happened. I'm also in possession of a document that deals with the 45 million. This document, it will show you what was written. It was signed by Fahmida Hendricks and Mr. Mabunda. They have outlined here that they are requesting this amount, and the heading is saying January to March grant drawdown. So they requested this, and they indicated that from January to March, we will be able to cover this. But throughout all these documents that are here, I can tell you that the budget for the department is the lowest. It's 900 and something million, not even a billion. And the allocation for the money that we send to Parks and Tourism, it has eaten almost 40% of the allocation. The monies that I paid during the weekend was not for salaries. The monies for salaries were paid in November. As per their submissions, they are the ones who submit to the department how much they will need out of their allocation of 221. So when I went to Mujedi, yes, I went and I was confident because in that financial year and the submissions here, we have paid them in November 45 million. And they themselves indicated in this submission that that money was for until March. So I was confident that it is going to happen. But I must also indicate that we then had to get into investigations. And the moment, yes, I spent a day in Protea. It was the time of, I think it was the 23rd of January. It was the time when we had training. All the MECs, all members of parliament were in Protea. So because we had to treat this as a matter of urgency, preparing for checking as to whether we'll get it, the whole day I was with the head of department, Mrs. Fahmida, the CFO, and Charlene Hendricks. They explained everything that is going wrong there. They explained, because actually for them to be there, it was when there was a crisis of the staff protests. I went to the Heritage House the same day. So I had to leave there because they were not comfortable saying they might be attacked. So we had to go to the hotel because I was also attending lessons there. Yes, I sat with them. They gave me a brief. And they called all the people when they were telling me the corruption that is happening. They gave me the whole information. It came when I started to ask them a question to say, of all these things that you have told me, what was your role? What did you do? When all these things were happening, because you are telling me that there's a collapse of SCM. Okay, the AG is also saying that. Now, how come that when you are paying? How do you pay when things were not processed according to the SCM? And she gave me documents. It was a whole day. She called. They were calling people whom they said, these are the people, MEC, that can give information. I think the mistake the mistake I did is when, after having the whole information, I then asked them to say, but you were in the space and all these payments were effected by you. What did you do? So I then, because now I could get the sense, because we could not get what happened to the 45 million, even now, we are unable to access the accounts because they are the ones who are signatories. To at least track what was happening, which payments were made, and why did they fail to prioritize salaries when they know the financial year came to an end. So we then started to, the MEC convened a board to come and brief the MEC on what happened. On the way to the meeting of the board, Mrs. Jacobs resigned. When she was supposed to come and explain now, she has already given me documents. She has already given me names of the people, or this one did this, and I am sitting with those documents. She then resigned. When she resigned, the CFO said, MEC, you will have to also interview the supply chain, the what, I don't know the staff of Parks and Tourism. And she personally called them to say, the MEC want to see you. So we were there working on this until I got this information. So this information that I have already signed an MOU, I think we'll be finalizing today, because it is deeper than we see. It is historic, but it is easy to do. We don't want anyone to get hurt in the process because we are the caring government. But we will always place things in order because we owe it to our people. So the total amount and the dates that were transferred, it's historic. It doesn't start now. It's a pattern that they will make a submission and say they want this. And in the next month, you see something also came in. So it's what we have been tracking. And we realize that we are not specialists in investigations. So that's why we then had to say, the Hawks must deploy. Second, we spoke to the SIU. We spoke to the head of SIU to say, we are interested in the investigation that will bring this money of government back, recover it from those people who got the monies without having gone through the supply chain processes. I will show you one contract here that was signed by the Secretary of NEHAU, who is leading the march. How he bypasses the EIA, how he got into signing 8 million. That also came from this department and went out there. We must go to Khaswane now. Everything is no longer there. The road is outside the road. You don't know what it means, but it is happening. In the spirit of transparency, in the spirit of starting to understand that we will be patiently dealing with these matters, and we will not agree to be defocused. We will cooperate, and we will respect our people, and we will treat them with dignity. I will show you that document also. I was given by Mayor Fahmida and Mayor Jacobs. It is true that I was with them in Protea, and they led me to those documents. That document of 8 million road never went through supply chain. It was signed, you know, the pencil even was written Now, Mr. Tsinkeng, I am actually signing. The CEO said I must sign on on her behalf. He just signed. These are some of the things that are still part of the package of the suspended CEO. It must be noted that the Parks Board has got a substantive CEO. She is on suspension. Her case is progressing. I think yesterday the chair was saying it's almost 90% to be completed. So there's no vacancy. There's no vacancy. The case, the post is there. And remember, I will have to share all these documents nicely so that you see how the processes of rendering services, PFMA, the money that we release here, and what is happening that side. There's a total collapse of supply chain. The supply chain manager is sitting there. Nothing happening. The money comes here, it goes straight to companies. They run without being processed. We're sitting with such. But we are confident that we have the necessary capacity. I was telling you that it's like the state is hacked and hijacked. Once you touch this one, he says he's holy. The next morning you'd meet a document where he's also part of that. You get to a road. The road is said to be a road for disaster. And then it's a flooding preventative road and bridge. But the EIA is bypassed, is even signed by a person who is not even authorized to do EIAs. The same secretary of Nehau, who is leading at the forefront and saying, Rebose Bete boy, right, and say bypass EIA, there's no need. But he goes to the invoice and he says, EIA was charged 480,000. So those documents are here. We will hand them to, because we don't want to be subjective, we don't want to victimize our employees. We respect them also in their leadership positions. And we are aligned that when things are not going well, they must go out in arms and fight for their rights. But at the same time, they must join hands with us when we deal with uprooting, and the corruption has killed the entities and government. And the president and the Premier Mokhosi made it very clear. We are not police. We are not here for that. Actually, our energy is, look, for now, the monies that I paid that weekend, 32 million. We had to cut from what I have already advertised to our people that I'm going to buy them this, we are going to buy them equipment. It's not the salaries money. I have to cut from service delivery budget because their budget was 221 million. It is depleted. But we will now focus there. I told Mr. Denga that he must get to the security and they must, HOD I know is not agreeing. I want to have an office in each and every operation of the entities, told CEO and WDC, so that we are able to see what is happening. We are public representatives, we represent our people. So that is, I think that is just fair that I will list these documents to you, then you will put them there and you will give them in the spirit of transparency and good governance and for the sake of our people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MEC. Next question, Taung Daily.
MEC, first I would like to, I think you did not answer Thabang on some few questions, and also I will need clarity on this issue. Ntate Mabunda alleged that you called the board and said to them that I'm driving to Joburg. When I arrived there, the money must be paid to the service provider. You did not answer that question. It is just a reminder. And also on the, you have just highlighted some issues that how corruption has been taking place in that entity, but in your statement, you said you don't want to hurt people in the process because you are a caring government. What does that mean? Do you mean that you're not going to open a criminal case against those who are alleged to committed it? Thank you. Now let me go to my questions. MEC, this one will go to the acting HOD. Ntate Mafokane, Rema Bunda said it on record that he was removed from his acting position simply because he refused to give you the report regarding rhino poaching that you demanded, even though he gave it to the board chairperson. You can answer on that one. And then the second one, MEC, just give clarity on the issue of hotel schools, because we understand that Ntate Mabunda said they falls under their entity, but we have seen some development, a project taking place at Taung Hotel School, and then they said they are not part of that. They don't have any say in that because the Department of DDECT has taken over that project. And according to information, that project has failed. Just give an update on that, because we understand that the project has been abandoned simply because there were some deficiencies somewhere on when the renovations were taking place. And then the last one, MEC, I'm not sure whether is it Mrs. Jacobs or Ntate Mabunda, but somebody between them said that you gave directive that the acting CEO who was appointed must deal with Ntate Mabunda, Ms. Jacobs, and Ms. Hendricks by suspending them. How true is that matter? Thank you.
Thank you very much, MEC HOD.
Right, thank you. I think on the side of whether we are not going to hurt people, I was never arrested to an extent of staying in the cells. But I know even when you have killed a person and you are next to the person, you are a suspect and you have the rights. We shouldn't want to treat you as if it has happened until it is proven that way. So we are sitting in that situation, but we are working around the clock, and we are confident that we'll get it right. I don't want to provoke. I don't want to say we are going to arrest. No. That's not how government is run. We do everything correctively. We do everything in the spirit of good governance. So we're not going to leave the stones unturned, especially. You'll hear the Premier when he deals with our priorities of putting people first, people beneficiation. Time is now that these entities must benefit our people, and we have packaged it well. We have even revised a lot of acts that existed in 1997 and the likes. As a result of that, we will want clean systems, clean hands to deal with that. And then the service provider calls, I will stick to the fact that it is not about calls, but it is about the contract that government has with Department of Arts and Culture. We cannot run, if we don't pay the service provider or the Department of DDECT, it means we are killing the plan of government, because Mahika Mahikeng is a flagship activity of government. All the departments, NWDC has got something that it does, all these departments, because it is a government flagship, Premier has pronounced it. So when something is not moving, the head of department must rise, and he must brief me, and we must rise. And the question was saying, chairperson wa board, urile kar. In my nature, I can't tell my heart. Uri aslo zona le heart. Hagis talohanyo. Because ke hatu. And allow ka mosebeletsa hore kgato e tla go tsena fight something else. But what I can say ke hore I'm a custodian of service delivery, and Mahikeng is a flagship, and it had to happen. Not how Mabunda feels, but the government has already planned it. It is in the APP, Yako Arts and Culture. I think it is also in the APP, in the Memorandum of Understanding that they have signed. Also, I need to remember the suspended CEO, as in HOD. Even all this transferred is something that I said the HOD before the end of this week. I gave him until, starting from last week to say, he must tell me how come that monies left this department without his authorization. Because what you see on these papers, coming from the previous years, you see the HOD will sign, the CFO will sign. But in this case, it's only the CFOs who were exchanging and were giving, and PFMA must be interpreted very clear. So, lastly, I must also indicate that na personally, I went to Botsalano, where there was a report of poaching. And you know that it was funny enough about that report. It was all of a sudden highly confidential. I will want that the Denga also to respond, because it has got standard operating procedures that before the lapse of 24 days, 24 hours, when theft of highly rated species happens, poaching, it has to be reported. It is centralized nationally. So it did not happen that Mabunda sent me a message to say, Honali Rhino missing one. And I said to him, but I got information people are saying there are 2. Later on he said, no, the report was fixed, it's 2. And he further said, MEC, I will tell you about another poaching that happened. He has since gone to church. It was on the 23rd of December. I personally drove from my home, Kotlachame, I drove straight to Botsalano. I had to get into that reserve and ask everyone who was there. And I realized that there has been poaching from the 6th, they were saying the 16th of November there was poaching of 2. They showed me where it was and the carcass. Then another 2. The report that the chairperson is having is not having that. The security, that matter I cannot broaden it, but we have just spoken to the office of the DG in the minister's office. They will be sending us a national team, because we have 2 suspensions in parks and tourism around the issue of poaching. We have here in the department the arrest. The case is still going on. The suspect is on 50,000 bail around the issues of poaching. So it's a highly ranked thing. It can't be disclosed. I don't even know. I just wanted the HOD, because I can't get into too much of administration, because he had to report so that we're able to get. And we get a lot of case numbers that shows poaching that were never reported. So that's basically that. I did not answer for the HOD. He will answer for himself. Hotel school. I will not talk about service delivery, but let me tell you that for all these years, hotel schools falls within the department. It will only be on the 7th administration that the vision of this department is say hotels are to make money. And we make money in entities that are 3D or 3C. For the first time, it's not only Taung Hotel, if I go to Bupirim. I have been having a lot of calls about Taung Skal. We're closing shop. We're no longer going to be a construction site. Taung Skal must generate income for the people of Taung. We are busy digitalizing it. The Premier is going to hand it over to the community, so that activation of tourism and other economic activities must start to roll. It has costed the government since 2014. So, yes, we have closed. Yes, we have appointed a project management team that has got timelines to say, this date we want the Premier to come and hand over. We can't forever bring money here and say we are constructing. So we are closing, and we are giving it to the community. We will be releasing the digitalized a portion of it. We are doing research, we are engaging also vets, because it is not only about the skull, it's about the heritage side, it's about a lot of things that are happening. We go now to Taung Hotel School. Yes, it's true. We must close shop. We can't be a construction site. It's a hotel. Hotel must make money. Where we are, we also have appointed new people who will, we can't be sitting and say, when there is construction, go Taung Hotel. Then clients suffer. Already that hotel needs to have management who brings alternative. And as I speak, we're going to have the clients of Taung Hotel starting to go an alternative route of having our flats that are there turned into B&Bs, so that we generate whilst infrastructure projects are there. And of course, we have the implementing agent SIDT. We have told them that we are going to terminate them if they don't deliver service, and they have done it. They have terminated the contractor. HOD was briefing me yesterday that they have appointed a new contractor. So whilst the hotel is running, I told the premier he will pronounce it. We're handing over the training school, and that training school is not going to be a hospitality school. It has to be as per accreditation, lady hunting training, so that we must have professional hunters, because we are the parks and tourism. We must have other conservation related courses in that training center, not to be just a hotel school. So it is true that we have appointed, deployed actually, not service providers. You take the staff that has project management, you say, Cab, we want to manage this project, we give you 3 weeks, it should be done. And they are reporting almost every day on progress, and you go there, it's different from all the years, 10 years doing the same thing. You go to Mahikeng Hotel School, I got a report that the rooms that have already been paid for, Pulayana, Diachuluch. We are going there tonight to see how come that we have paid for a service that is not going to assist us. But we will cooperate, and we love our people, but we love the communities most, for they have trust in the government. And that is why when these things are happening, we will not say Neresio, we will not say Haisisarona. The Premier and the President has given us a way to go, and that's where we are. So, nakemo tsetsa Gauteng, a ke re gape ke a kgwediwa, anke ke bona le gore ke tsamaya ka might miss it gore ne ke le go Gauteng or yang, but ha go te gati e tla batla lo e batlisise sentle e bo lo mpitsa gore gati o na helletsa go te gati go no go teng. So I'll not get into that space.
No, thank you very much, MEC, and good afternoon to members of the media. I must indicate that in terms of the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board Act, I've been appointed as the shareholder representative. So I sit in the meeting of the board, Northwest Parks and Tourism Board. I must confirm that the board took a decision to terminate the acting appointment of Mr. Mabunda because of a number of things. I must indicate that the acting appointment was done until further notice, after the substantive CEO was suspended. And the board felt that they have taken a number of resolutions since the suspension of the CEO, but the trajectory in which the acting CEO and the management is taking is still similar to the one that is contrary to what the AGSA is recommending. And therefore, the resolutions of the board are not being implemented. So many of these resolutions are not being implemented. Consequence management is not happening, but yet we're having the CEO who, again, keep on explaining and perpetuating the problems that are in the Parks and Tourism Board. This happened after, indeed, that the poaching happened. And when it happened, I sent a text to Mr. Mabunda to say, I'm receiving this information. we are having a environmental management officer grade 1, Mr. Denga at the time, who is under pressure to report to national. Time has lapsed as per regulation, and we would like to know what is happening so that we are able to respond to even the media queries that were coming at that time. So he saw that request for us to be able to report to the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment as an interference, and he refused to provide the report. I was with Mr. Denga on the call who will elaborate the process, which they failed to do. Even the report that we received later on, we came to understand that the report that was provided to us verbally that the poaching incident was one, it's not true. There were actually 2 incidents. And us being the department that has to provide an oversight on this endangered species, we became concerned because we needed to account as to what has happened on the day. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and members of the media. I'm Jonathan Denga, who is currently the acting CEO at the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board. I have to say that I'm also what we call a grade 1 EMI, which is Environmental Management Inspector, the highest grade, in fact, of the inspectorate. That's what we call the Green Scorpion. I just want to touch a little bit on the issues of rhino poaching, which is not only the problem of the province, but is in fact in the region. We all know that too many rhinos are killed for their horns, only for their horns. And those horns are in fact traded illegally to satisfy a particular market, specifically in the East. That's in Asia, most of it. So for the horns to leave here to get to Asia, there are so many routes that it follows. All these routes, there's a lot of exchanges of money involved in them. And it is not a secret, as MEC had said, that in this establishment, the board and the department itself, we have cases that are running, that are in court currently, that involves the movement of illegal rhino horns. And therefore, we cannot ignore any poaching that we pick up at any given time, whether it be on state land or private land. We have what we call the EMI SAPS, Standard Operating Procedure, which then indicates and directs on how cases of rhino poaching must be dealt with very closely by all law enforcement agencies. And one of that is that it needs to be reported well in time. And me being the grade 1 EMI in the province of Green Scorpion, I'm very undated with many calls and reports of such kind of cases, criminal cases that comes through us. But this specific one that they are talking about, that they are referring to, yes, indeed, I did receive a report from my HOD wanting that I clarify some of the procedures that needed to be followed. And it was also for the very first time also that I get to understand and hear about that particular poaching. We then established a direct communication with the EMI on the ground in the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board. We indicated that in fact it is true that the poaching has happened and he's looking into the matter. But only to find out the poaching that we're talking about has happened perhaps even a few weeks ago. And the bodies or the carcasses of the rhinos that we're talking about is actually not one, but there are 2. And those rhinos are in fact in a decay state. We all know that at any given time when poaching happens, if we get to attend to the scene early enough, there's some particular investigations that we need to do. And they're all done through what we call necropsy, which is a post-mortem examination of a particular carcass. And given the time frame, there was no need for that any longer. So I just wanted to clarify that to say there is a process that is stipulated on how we deal with issues of rhino poaching, not only in the province, nationally, and also in the region, in the SADC. And that is stipulated and written also in what we call the EMI SAPS, Standard Operating Procedure. And we have to follow that to the letter. So it can't be that because I'm the CEO of the entity, therefore I begin to assume more power above such procedures that are in place. Unfortunately, they cut across. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Denga. Colleagues, those who have just arrived, we are at a time where we are posing questions to the MEC and the panel that is here. And just to remind you that we are live on Facebook and DDEC YouTube. And I just want to welcome the following media houses that have just arrived. Letsholo News, Mahikeng FM, Sunday World, Mahikeng Mail, and Moronga News. So, colleagues, you are also invited to participate and ask any questions that you'd want to ask to the MEC and the delegation. Thank you. Next question. Can we put follow-ups, allow new questions to be posed, then we'll take follow-ups. Tabang, you want to do a follow-up? Okay, can we give those who have not posed questions an opportunity, then you'll come? Is it okay that way? Okay. Mafikeng FM?
Thank you. Mukurutamaga, Pax Boto kare eraniwa jaka tax shop. Go latela go sa bone dituelo tsa badiri sentle ka nako le go bona go fetolwa ga di CEO mo nakong e khutshwane makgetlo a le mantsi jaaka Mokhuduthamaga o dira eng ka seemo se sentseng jana mo malobeng go ntse le strike sa mokgatlo wa Nehau ka Labone. Then we invited you for interview ko Mahikeng FM, but ka nako ya interview you were nowhere to be found. O ka re go ne gona le sengwe sono se tshabela ga ke itse le gale o tla re addressa mo ntlheng eo. Thank you.
MEC, colleagues, remember we agreed on this approach that a question will be posed and the MEC will respond immediately.
All right, no, thank you. I must indicate that Mahikeng FM contacted me and said they want an interview. You see, this department is very big. This department is very big and it is full of people who support the MEC. When you are on the road, and Mahikeng FM knows it better that they always struggle to get me, especially when I'm in house number 122 Tlakgaming. When I'm there, there's no network. But also, I could not just respond. When there are incidents of that in nature, you have to get advice from men and women who are here on how you should structure your approach. But you must also brief the premier. You don't just rush to the media because somebody was in the media. It doesn't work like that. Even this setup, we had a session on Monday to structure it. We had to brief the premier, then we came here. The premier knows the approach and what we'll be doing because it is his government. So I have always been in Mahikeng FM. I even walked to Mahikeng FM the other time. So I can't run away from the people. I'm a product of the masses. I have to explain to them what happened. And I think you can secure 2 hours, Tebza, to go and apologize to the listeners of Mahikeng FM, and I will then start there. And you can still ask me questions that you would have wanted to ask me that time. They will remain the same. The same in this case is that I put people first. I respect the employees. I'm always telling even the leaders of unions, remember there are other unions, but I tell them that if you don't lead these people, I will take over in the absence of leadership, because they are the people, and the government of Lazimu Khosi is very clear that we must prioritize people first. The government of President Cyril Ramaphosa says we must prioritize people first. So it can't be that I run away when people need clarity. But when it is clarity within confusion is another angle. But you go to the media, that's not how we do it. So Kiona I must also clarify the issue of many CEOs. There's nothing like many CEOs. The board has got a substantive CEO who, as we speak, is on suspension, and she is earning. Now, everything that we are doing in Parks Board, I can tell you that I have encouraged the CFO of the department is not here, and the HOD to say, let's try by all means to use shared services amongst all of us here. So whatever that we are doing, we are not spending even a cent. When you act, you are not being paid because there's a person in the position. So they are not having any acting allowance. Like for now, we have changed the approach as per the agreement with the AG. The agreement that I have with the AG in terms of material findings and other things. Ndate Denga is in the substantive position of a director, biodiversity in the department. He is seconded that side. Everything that he does in terms of payments and all expenses comes from the department. It's not coming from the board. So there's no loss. And it is not about the stay of a person, but it's about delivering. I think Ntate Mabunda must give you his letter. Because the board takes decisions and brings to the MEC, I take it to legal, and then the HOD, then they advise, and I concur. So I can even say to them no or yes. So they recommended, on the basis of what they have put in his letter of termination, they have stipulated why they have terminated him. It is part of cooperating with people that I'm talking about. To say, okay, nere go adimile morwarra o dirile go tla go tsena ha mme go santse go le hihi ne re rile go laeta mole le mole yanong so no nka dimile ha o re ke go busetse go lokile mme Charlene, it's worse about her because she resigned during the day when I was supposed to give the chairperson her concurrence. I was outside the country when they appointed here. So upon my arrival, the office head said that I have to concur. So when I still wanted to check, and she was to give brief for it, when you are just 4 days, you come in and already you are saying there are no salaries. How did you know? Because Tate Mabunda and the acting CFO have signed for this. How did she know? I'm still wondering, how did she know? But I think that Denga will make me know. They will give me a report of what finally transpired, because I have given them again 32 million cut from service delivery across the programs. The CFO have cutted a lot of things because we no longer have money. The government cannot give us money. So we must generate, and rest assured, the board has already adopted a revenue enhancement strategy in 6 months' time. If look at hell, we will focus and we will give a product. Issues of salaries and they have to be. I'm always telling them. I told even Denga to say, if I was the MEC for Treasury, if I was the Premier, I won't give money to Parks and Tourism. It is rich on its own. It has to generate, and there's a lot of money just unaccounted. How do you run an institution with a collapsed supply chain? And you come in and you say CEOs are many. So that's Mr. Mabunda, that's Meshalin. Or there was also Ntate Polo. Ntate Polo was seconded also, like I'm saying, we don't want to be a cost there because there's no money. Ntate Polo was seconded from NWDC on Ntate Nale. Ntate Nale said Ntate Polo is working, he's a labor relations person, he's working on a number of cases that are running there. So he gave us just for purpose of facilitating other processes. And that date came to an end, and Ntate Polo is back to NWDC. It is not a crisis, it must be interpreted well that these other ones, ke ba re tla cooperate le bone sentle. Ba tla cooperate le bona sentle. So ga ba bantsintsi go ha ke ikutlwa gore yo suspendilweng ke ena a amogelang ke ena a hirilweng ke ena a santseng a le teng re tla lo bolelela gore di tsamaile yang ha re sena go dutlwa ga ke batle gore gatwe ke na le chairperson ke re ke tlile mo Mahikeng FM ke tle go lobegela ka tsele sa CFO substantive o buile kgotsa go diragetse jana ka gore re cooperate sentle le yena.
Okay, thank you, MEC. Next question. If there are no new questions, okay. Bobby, the legend.
Good day, Premier, Mr. Madam MEC. Why are you at loggerheads with the provincial legislature committee board, the provincial committee, the board of your department?
Ntate Pogiso, I don't know whether you were here when I started. One of the things that you need to know, I'm a member of the legislature. I have signed an oath of office, and I am not special compared to any other member of even the community. I have nothing to can be at loggerhead with the oversight body. The oversight body has got rules, and we cooperate according to their rules. And Bona, they even have other extensions in the constitution to enable them to play oversight. I am not at loggerheads with them. I have a responsibility from the side of executive to open doors of this department and any other staff member or employee or whoever to can cooperate with them. I am not at loggerheads with them. Unless if you have seen me being at loggerheads, maybe I can explain, but they are my colleagues. We are working together. I have no reason to undermine them. When I'm with them, I have to account. And accountability in this case, if I don't account, I will be failing our people. It will mean there's something hidden that I'm doing. Mantaha, we were there trying to look at our stay, our 6-7 month stay. And I can rest assure you that it is more of plans to bring our people and to bring our entities to that level. And we plead with members of the public not to smash these entities because we relate with investors. We already have investment on the pipeline. So when they hear this thing, these things are risks. That's why re tshwantse re time be sentle ka gore ntate Mogose o tla ba bua le rona ka la bone re bolella dipokete tsa gagwe tsa tleng go di baya mona. So ha ke dira yana ke a tlhagola so that lo ska mmotsa potso tseo gape kwale o rometse nna kwano ya ska lo tsena kwa blore parks board e motlhakatlhakano you would have You must ask me all the questions. Even if you say we must go somewhere, we must drive now. I'm available for you the whole day. In fact, the whole week. I'll be just here. I'll invite you to the staff meetings. I'll invite members of the media as I move around addressing the staff. It's too broad, but you'll have to go with me. Thank you.
Follow up, Bobby.
Remember, I'm on the side of the executive. On the side of the executive, I see the Office of Communication from the Premier is here. They issue statements of government. They work closely with Ndatema Tebesi. I can account for all the statements of this department. Some of you sent me a letter written to the Premier. I'm not a Premier. When the DA addressed the letter to the Premier, it goes to the Premier. The Premier has not delegated me to take deposits. It's his hand-moving post. So the Premier will deal with that. So I am not at loggerheads. Members of the public must attend that I'm a public rep and I have a responsibility. I have tabled plans and budgets in the legislature and I must account. And I always say to Borema Tebesi, legislature. That is that of the head of department and the MEC and the CEO brings to me. So it's a clear indication that collectively we agree, but also as an individual, I have to account for government. But Tsako legislature, Papa, this statement is another sphere. I don't know, I can't even comment. Whatever that the legislature is saying, they will explain to you, but this is my position. Now, we are not at loggerheads. I respect the legislature and I will always cooperate. We are guided by the rules.
We are taking the last bite. Okay, so wait and Sunday World, then SABC and Town Daily News. Then we are done for the day.
MEC Buitumelo here. I've been sitting for more than an hour listening to you answering questions that were posing serious allegations towards the department. When you, is it on? When you invited us here, you said you wanted to clarify what you called artificial challenges. I want to believe that these allegations aren't artificials. I mean, you said cases are in court, SIU is on call to deal with such corruptions within the entities and the department as a whole. So, my question will be, as the head of the department, do you think that you are on the right track in terms of dealing with all this mess? Because from where I'm sitting, it's a mess. And I'm concerned because you look so calm. I don't know how you do it. I was overly concerned when you responded to the issue of the hotel school. You know, if Taung Hotel School closes shop, our Gen Zs and our Gen Alphas, their dream are going to be shattered. Are we saying now they must go to Cape Town? Those who wants to follow, you know, a career in culinary and hospitality. What does this say about the government? And lastly, there are senior managers who have been posting what my fellow colleagues here were saying, Mahatwe, rumors. You also come about it. I want to know that, I mean, rumors travel fast. You should have heard. Have you heard about these rumors? And what are you doing about it? Thank you.
Tumigana, when you are sent to lead government, you raise your hand, and they call it that you are declared to be the asset of the state. So you become calm because the state has got systems that enables you to shape it in the direction where it has to be. When I started, I indicated that the challenges in the SOEs are historic and are not only for Northwest. That is why Renali an initiative here, how should we now start to turn around the SOEs? Actually, the Premier also at his level is encouraging us. His paragraph, when he was appointed the Premier, his first paragraph, he said, this government of the 7th administration will never bail out entities. And he meant it. And since we arrived here, we have not bailed out entities. The first time will be this Saturday. The 32 million that we have dispatched there is actually a cut from service delivery. It's a mistake. We have robbed the people of the province, but we are glad that we have responded to the crisis of the employees because they are innocent. They are not responsible for the weak systems. That remains my responsibility to put the systems in place, and of course I'm prepared, the Premier will talk about it. You say I look calm. I'm worried about this thing because a lot of people always say I look calm. I don't know what to say, but that's how I am. I can't cry when I'm at the MEC. I mean, Premier is always asking us for Elon. Are you aware that you represent 4 million of people in this province? You must think for them. And that's what I'm doing. I'm thinking for our people because I'm a product of the democratical process. Now, to me, we're not running government, they got the Romas to me. We're running a state here. We're running government. And government has got legislation, has got prescripts. How do you do this? How do you do that? And how do you do this? So we're doing well in that. And I'm surrounded by men and women who I am having this confidence with the reflection that we had on Monday. They are hard at work. We have a series of programs and projects. You'll hear the Premier pronouncing them. So we are doing well. As much as that, those who are undergoing DC and as much as we are talking about the collapse, we are responsible. And this government existed for 30 years, and every time there are plans to deal with the mistakes, and that's where we are. And I am not going to say I was not there. Remember, the Northwest history was always led by the ANC, and I can't hide that I'm a deployee of the ANC in government. The ANC is very clear that it prioritizes people and people first. We have made a commitment to them in the manifesto, and we are going to do it. We can't cry. 4 million people see me crying. They should draw hope that all is not lost. The media says it's a mess. To me says it's a mess. But I'm saying the state, that's why the state has SIU. That's why the state has NPA. That's why the state has got all these structures. That's why the state has got public protector. Because the state knew that where we will be operating, there might be a need, and collaboration is what I'm always saying. So I don't want to be subjective or to be seen chasing some people and not. That's why I said to the head of department, the best way is to agree with the head of SIU to second the deployees who will come and deal with the investigations, because they're high level. Agree? No, this one must go to the Hawks, this one must go there, this one must go there. Because I don't have time to chase people who have already messed up. Our people are hungry. Remember, in the Parks and Tourism Board, we have adopted a number of revenue enhancement strategies. That needs to happen, and our people have not yet benefited, and they have to. Come April 1st, after the Premier speak, you'll understand it better. You speak of Taung. To me, what Taung? There's a hotel school, and there's a hotel. The Premier will be handing a hotel school soon. I was told 30th of March it will be done. So when the premier goes there, he will be handing the hotel school and the first phase of the town skull. Raho ibula town raho henda har sa tle re bereka ka diso tsa hore gato re tla bona ko pele di ambulance gantse re lantse re ya pele. No. To me, you are in the Department of Economic Development. Our interest in that whole infrastructure development, there's a museum. Remember, this is government. We will soon be meeting with MECs also to deal with the museum. Again, tourists will come to visit the museum. Now the digitalization will tell the story and the activities. We will be having all the programs of SMME support. People of Taung will have to get establishments there on how they benefit as tourists come. We are also going to have, remember in Taungskal there's somewhere where it is also having the practices that go Taung za ba gapudujuan. Ba bango ba dira dilo za sejo kwale and all those. There's so many activities. That land, yeah, Khosi will be at the fore in outlining, but it is also an investment. We have long pronounced that we are going to issue RFPs, and where the investors have made commitments and pledges with the premier will give a directive, because there's also a way of public participation, and when they have participated, we can always take it from the point of the pronouncement by the premier. So it's a lot of things. Even if the skull has not yet arrived, activities and the history and there's a blue pool, there's so many things there that will have to display the culture of the people of Taung. And like I am saying, in the digitalization, you will see how we are going to market it. So it's about economic. It can't be just the skull. We are going to make sure that we secure everything, the museum, collaborate with MECs also, beautify the place, and then from there we see how it makes money. And Taung Hotel School, it is not closing. The premier will pronounce how we're going to do it. But it is going to have extension of curriculum. It is not going to deal only with hospitality. When you are in our hotel and our lodge, we have to have these training centers be able to train. How about the spa? Remember, we have Carol, like SMME support and equipment will buy you the set of those things, the spa, and then you'll get the training from Taung Hotel School or Mahikeng Hotel School. Then you can still operate in the hotel. That is return on investment. We have wildlife conservation. We want to invest in the biodiversity economy. In this province, we have less than 30 professional hunters. And when we start to want to talk about biodiversity economy, we must have the communities, especially those who are living in our protected areas. We must train them, and this must not be hotel schools. It must be training centers. There's also the Christiana that we used to call a training center. Dadenale and I were talking HOD that we must apply the PFMA 42. The PFMA 42 will now make us to assess this property, strengthen the systems of parks and tourism, and take them there. It has always been the pronouncement of the 7th. It is not Mabunda's pronouncement. It is the pronouncement of the 7th administration that we must now start to classify our operations, part of our strategies, the turnaround strategy. So when you go to Taung Hotel, right now, the contractor will be on site, but we have activated to say, even if it is still under construction, but business must continue. And that is where they have submitted to the acting CEO. We have a rector there. She has submitted. She is going to start to run business, and she will collaborate with the BNBs where there is no space for accommodation because the hotel is still under construction. But we have also warned IDT that they must close shop. This time around, we don't want construction sites. We don't have tenders in this department. We make money. So when money just go out without coming in, we get worried. So to me, I'm sorry for being calm, but that's me. And our people knows me like this. When I cry, you know, I know my husband is watching somewhere. He will also think I'm in trouble whilst I'm at work. Oh, thank you.
Thank you again. Yes, as a follow-up, maybe I can just start by adding to what my colleague from Mahikeng FM was saying, because we did send a media inquiry as SABC News. We were still waiting for a response, and the next thing the MEC said, Motsweding FM. Well, the last communication we had was that the MEC is in a meeting, we'll get your response, but to us it seems like it was a bit difficult to get a response from the office of a public representative. But nonetheless, MEC, as a follow-up, Ms. Jacobs on record stated that she resigned specifically after she found out that you had been meeting with the staff at Protea Hotel without her knowledge. And she said that it was your interference that led her to a resignation. So I want you to put it on record, or maybe in your response, clarify it. How do you respond to allegations that you are interfering in the administration of government instead of focusing on the role that you are supposed to play as the political head? Another one would be that, how is your relationship with the unions? Now, before I go to this one, when you were doing that investigation that you said you were doing, meeting with officials, including those of supply chain, was it in relation to the Labor Relations Act of the country when you did that without the acting CEO's knowledge? The other one would be, how is your relationship like with the unions? Are you aware of the ongoing protests that are still happening currently? And coming back to the one of the relationship with the unions, we were informed that you have decided to take legal steps against the regional chairperson of Nehawu in the province. So we would also like to know, since, well, you just stated yourself that there are no funds, how are you suing him in his personal capacity or as a regional chairperson of Nehawu? Because if you are suing him in his personal capacity, when he was speaking on behalf of Nehawu as a regional chairperson of Nehawu. And are you suing him as an MEC or in your personal capacity? And who is going to carry the cost? Since, well, you just said that there's no money. And another one would be, yes, we understand that there's no vacancy of the CEO currently because the current CEO is suspended. Instead of going for a chief director, you went for a director to act as a CEO. What led to that decision? Thank you.
Thank you, Nana. Let me answer this, the recent one. It is not about chief director or in. You must ask Jacobs whether she's a chief director or where was she coming from to act as the CEO. You must ask the substantive CEO whether she was once a chief director. It goes with the knowledge, the expertise, what we would want to achieve in that space. The space of operation in these entities, the better specialization. People who will have knowledge about things. So, of course, I'm going to dispatch a number of chief directors, even to GLR. This week I told the HOD that we have already sent to the supply chain and the CFO to NWDC because the entities do not have money. So they must at least use the services of the department. And remember, I concur from the recommendations of the board. I'm not the one appointing for the board. The board do everything on their own, and then in terms of the terms of reference, they concur with the they make the MEC concur. and they must bring convincing motivation. That I must agree. So it is not my thing. It is my thing after the board has recommended it to me. And Tatenale is the accounting authority, meaning he is both the board and the CEO. But as he takes decisions, he's sent to the MEC to say, MEC, do you concur? And then I can still say no or yes. So that's basically that. And then the relationship with the unions is cordial. Remember, Parks and Tourism, this department operates in 4 districts. 4 districts. The last meeting that we had, remember we are at head office, and normally at head office you, as the MEC, interact with the provincial structure. So Nehau does not have the provincial structure. So we cooperate as per agreement with their national structure. When there's any issue that would want to process, if it is an issue of conditions of service, they know how they operate Office of the Premier and the Bargaining Council. That's how. It's not me. I don't sit with them for negotiations. And when it is any other issue, and I want to table, or I want to explain myself, I write to the SG. Then the SG of Nehau will then do. I think twice, he has responded by setting up a team, and it is going well in NWDC. It is going well in Gambling Board. It is going well, and then here, I will not want to like Mar, I continue to cooperate, and they know I am cooperating, but they must not abuse this thing of cooperating. I don't know what are you talking about, and issues of legal in terms of my personal capacity. I don't use the departmental money. Actually, the way I spend the money of this department, I don't even buy my food. I buy myself water, because this government has actually ordered us to put people first. I would not drink water if our people are hungry out there. And that's the position of cost containment. That's how we do it. So about unions, we relate with their national, and they always said, I mean, there's a secretary for Rustenburg region, there's a secretary here, there's a secretary called JB Max, there's a secretary called Lextop, there's a secretary called RSM. So it can't be that the consolidation of that collective is undermined by one person. And by the way, if I sue a person on my personal capacity, the priorities for GLR, when those people have suffered in the hands of some officials. So I told them that I'm just trying my luck. If it goes well, I'm going to take that money to GLR, and I'm paying out of my pockets. So it's not about serious issues, and I don't keep grudges. If Nehau comes with its chairperson, I talk to them. I'm the MEC. I can't close chairperson of the union out. How? That's why Utarike come. Oh. And then this department, they were not to me. Will be appointing. I wish I must also convene the media briefing when I appoint a very important position that we said, come what may, we have to have a position in the department that deals with entity oversight. Kore like a small portfolio committee in a department. Kore, before everything goes wrong, and the person must have it in terms of research, in terms of legal, in terms of understanding the affairs of government. So we'll be having that unit. We have also strengthened a number of management units. We are also going to dispatch experienced employees of this department to go and beef up in these entities, because we can't create positions. I heard you said there are so many vacancies, not only vacancies, but also incomplete reconfiguration. So you first have to get the organizational structure. You first have to close the gaps. Remember, it was parks before, and then it becomes parks and tourism, and it became parks and tourism. So we have to close all those things that dates back as 2013. But we are confident that we are doing well. The Premier is also happy about, because the Premier calls us to account. I have also signed performance agreement with the Premier. When I'm not performing, the Premier is his discretion. Remember, I'm saving Gamuhau wa gagwe. He brought me here, and he can at any time call me, even tonight, to say, yeah, hi, Opalage. I'll still go home and say, thank you, Premier, for the opportunity, but I will remain serving the people of your province. So the Premier is so far going to address his nation. He might even address, if it is not going well with me, he might even address his reshuffle Kosopa to say, in this department, yeah. So we are doing good. We have strengthened that. We have closed the gaps. You know, if you can see the CEO of NWDC, he comes in 6 o'clock. At times I call him, and I even said, "Nari government because at any point he stops and he works." And you look at how Treasury was showing the improvement. It's a lot of improvement now. It will be worse because our real administration is after the 1st of April. That's where we'll be executing our plans with our budget and our plans. For now, we are carrying from the 6th administration, but like I have said, I'm a successor in title. I own up to everything, and I will never say it's not me. Government has always been there. Our people have always had confidence in the government, Yamo Northwest. So be it even today. And I hope you will communicate well with them. If maybe you captured something and it's not clear, you must please call me to where you are. I'll come. Mahikeng FM, we lose nothing to apologize to our people because we also owe it to them.
Okay, thank you very much, MEC. We have come to, you want another bite? Oh, okay.
Now, I'm going to give you, I used to teach mathematics. I'll just give you an example of the extent to which you will measure this if it is in percentages. When a person was appointed for 4 days, and he goes and tells you this and that and that and that. If it is interference, especially that it is even having a location of a hotel, that hotel, I think she just wanted to also get some epaulets. I don't know what she's talking about, unless if she put it in writing, but you must tell her when you meet her that I'm still waiting for her, because the board came here to report about the 45 million that we deposited, and we went out of the country, and when we come back, she told me about the whole corruption. She gave me this, and when I asked her where was she and what did she do, that was when I was told she is on her way. It was in this boardroom. She was on her way, and later on I was told she has resigned. So I'm still waiting for her, but I'm glad that at least she went to the legislature. It's still fine because she has at least said it, and I hope it landed well. But there's no interference. There's no such, unless if she has something. I don't know what is interference when a person is 4 days and is crying that there is corruption, MEC, please intervene. And when you start to say, what did you do? And then she resigned, and then there is interference. So you'll calculate in your own way and put it into your nice ways. I know that tonight I'll be getting it penal beated anyway.
Then we are done. The editor of
MEC, with all the exciting developments that you spoke about in Taung and in Buxton in particular. Is your department plus the 7th administration really dreaming about getting the skull back to Taung one day?
I'm not going to get deeper into issues of service delivery, especially the historic issues that talks to the work of government. The Premier has not opened government. He will address the people of the Northwest on any other issues, including that one.
But how do you feel, you personally?
I feel okay, and I feel that it is not just a skull that is going to be an activation there. You'll see as it comes out. But this government is not a government that does not take the people serious. That skull is also a symbol. It's not only the skull, you must visit there, actually. That's why we do digitalization. You are going to see the miners, their history, a lot of things. So I want to remove this thing of you thinking that it's just a skull there. I think the next media briefing, Tebza must go to Taung Skull.
Taung Skull is the most important issue in Taung for Taung Skull, for the people of Buxton.
More than you think.
By the
biggest.
Is the biggest, yes.
Yeah, no, we are there.
So
Government of Lazim Khosi.
Saying you don't dream about you, especially bringing the skull back to Taung one day.
No, Premier will deal with those things. That's part of his package.
Yeah, come on, you got to deal with it.
Sorry, man, sorry. The Premier has got his government to be open Thursday. You are invited, by the way, I saw it.
Thank you very much, MEC colleagues from various media houses for coming to this press conference. We have come to the end of the press briefing itself. We want to say we appreciate your time for coming here and sharing information with the department. The comms team is sharing with you additional information, annexures on the MAU, Mahika Mahikeng, and so on, so that when you compile, you know that you compile from an informed position. Having said that, the press conference has come to an end, and thank you very much.